According to Dominica Tolentino from Guampedia, Pugua chewing was a common social practice among the ancient Chamorros. Men and women chewed pugua with hapulu leaves and slaked lime called afok. Pugua was shared at feasts and were carried in woven pandanus baskets.
Pugua is not only significant to the Chamorro culture in Guam. Its traditions and practices are also compared with the Marshall Islands and Hawaii.
Pugua is important because it symbolizes the island's culture, and it became an enjoyable delicacy amongst the islanders.
I believe the first time I've ever tried pugua was when I was around 5 years old, and my father introduced it to me, Mr. Juan Arce.
I remember when I first tried chewing pugua. My relatives chew pugua, so I'm sure it's one of my aunts or uncles or one of the elders in my family when I was a kid.
My paternal grandmother, who likes to be massaged, and thing she gives after you massage her is a pugua.
An avid chewer probably during high school, and I could probably go through about 10 pieces a day, like 10 whole pieces a day.
Probably in high school. Yeah, maybe my sophomore year. I don't chew much and I don't chew often anymore. My teeth are not so good, so I don't chew a whole lot anymore.
Was there a time when you did chew often and a lot?
Yeah, maybe 5 years ago. I would.
Regular chewer, I don't call myself a regular chewer. Because look, days and the whole day's gone and I haven't had any pugua, so maybe once after, let's say, a meal, or after lunch or evening meal. Red one is ugam, and the white one is sanga.
We go to a congressman and we tell him this fact.
I prefer ugam, that's the red nut, and I prefer it matured, hard. And the yellow nut, as you could see here. And then sometimes at home I would normally chew it with populu, but at work just the nut itself.
I started with just the meat. And that was the hard, mature beetle nut. Then my dentist told me that I need to stop chewing, so I said, okay, I'll stop chewing hard beetle nut, I'll chew soft beetle nut. So I switched. And before I switched, I was using lime and pupulu with the beetle nut, the hard beetle nut. Then I switched and I used lime, pupulu, and the soft beetle nut. And then I added tobacco to it. Started with Mickey Twist, and now I use Red Man.
I like the ugam one. And what was the other one?
Do you add anything to it?
Just pepper leaf.
Because I'm chewing it, I feel like it helps me out. But normally when I have a stomach ache or I'm feeling nauseous, I would pop a piece in my mouth. But mostly it just helps me concentrate. Like as long as I have pugua in my mouth, I can read long briefs or listen better.
Medical benefits? Yeah, it keeps people sane.
Not for chewing, but I know there's medicinal in pupulu, Because I remember my mother putting it on her forehead when she has a headache.
Then one day you will.
A lot of it has to do with our traditions and culture. And then I think I'm just plain old hooked on it.
Because I enjoy it. In spite of my dentist's recommendation to stop chewing, I still chew. I don't know, I might be addicted, who knows? But I do enjoy
In
it.
general.
I don't know if you call it addictive.
The practice of Pugua chewing has been around for many years. Today, islanders continue to chew in order to keep the cultural tradition alive.
The saddening lack of literature regarding Chamorro culture is equally matched with long-standing traditions and values that are held by Chamorro people today. Whether it is the simple act of sharing pugua, the practice of mangingi, or working together toward the greater good, the survival of the Chamorro culture is in the hands of those who choose to live in a manner consistent with that of the spirit of our ancestors.